Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. It'll be quite nice. Have a good time. It'll be very evil. And you'll love that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And I used to say, hey, Greg Morgan, and he used to say, please call me Greg, and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cells.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Lou Thez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the power.
Listen to the podcast, subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it now!
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Saturday. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to a very rare, what is going to be rare from now on, Saturday Winged Eagle Podcast. I told you guys I might be up here every now and then on Saturdays again, depending on what our weekly schedule looks like. And the reason I'm up here now is because I have got plans on Monday night, which means I'm not going to be up here after Raw for the podcast. Instead, we're going to do a quick recap of Raw and Collision on Tuesday afternoon instead. And since there's a lot of wrestling news going on, we had SmackDown last night, Jey Uso quitting WWE. We had Dynamite a couple of days ago. Figured what better time than to come up here and resurrect our Saturday podcasts. I'd say every few weeks you'll probably get me back on a Saturday. Otherwise, we'll focus Saturdays on members-only stuff and things like that. But today is a perfect day ahead of Collision to come up and do a podcast. We got about 2 hours to knock it out. Collision goes live from Greensboro, my old stomping ground, Greensboro Coliseum. I've attended many a show in that building. That's where Collision is emanating from tonight. And we should wrap up this podcast right before it goes live. So you guys can do me a favor later on social media when I have to leave here and go to work. Please let me know what we're going to see tonight on Collision, because there is a 6-man tag that looks really, really good with House of Black taking on CMFTR. So that's going on tonight. Tomorrow, we had a big YouTube poll for a watch-along ECW Living Dangerously 1999. Very glad that show won, because we just watched Jungle Boy and Rob Van Dam battle on Dynamite on Wednesday, and Jungle Boy was rocking some Jerry Lynn gear. And on ECW Living Dangerously 99, Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn have that epic battle for, I guess, the TV title. And we're going to be watching that tomorrow. Like I said, Monday night, no podcast after Raw. But Tuesday, we'll be up here with a little mini pod talking about Raw, talking about Collision, and anything else that might have happened over the next 48 hours. But today, here's what's on the menu. Before we hit those shout outs, good to see those blue Good Mic Work badges showing up for channel members that have been with us for a year now. I still have got a new video uploaded for basically advertising the membership. Since a year has gone by, we've changed some things. I still got to get that updated, but everybody else that has been with me for this long, good to see those blue badges. I'll be shouting you guys out in just a second. And on the menu for today, we're going to talk about last night's SmackDown. We'll talk about the Bloodline angle, Jey Uso. We've got a new United States champion in Rey Mysterio as well. And Edge and Sheamus set up a big one-on-one match next week in Toronto for SmackDown. We're also going to look ahead to this Monday Night Raw, talk about Trish and Becky. That big match is coming up, and talk about what they're going to do with the Women's Tag Team Championships, as Chelsea Green seems to be holding tryouts or auditions to fill the vacant role that Sonya Deville left behind. I really like this. No reason to strip the champions again and hold another tournament and continue to devalue these titles even more at this point. I just say anything goes. Let Chelsea keep them. Try to find a new partner, and that new partner might just be good old Nia Jax. We'll have to see if she comes back. We're going to offer some congratulations to Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley. We had Hulk Hogan turning 70 yesterday. Full Gear location for AEW has been named, and it's real close to me. I'm going to be there. Nigel McGinnis might be making an in-ring return. We're going to talk about AEW's all-in attendance this week, surpassing the paid attendance for SummerSlam 1992. We're not only going to talk about the attendance, we're going to talk about the card as well, how that is starting to take shape, and some people are kind of underwhelmed with the card. So we'll talk about that, and if those criticisms are fair. We've got some changes to Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. Tony Khan has made some adjustments there to help benefit those suffering from the wildfires in Maui. Triple H has been removed, or is going to be removed, from the board of directors, and we've got a big update on Bray Wyatt. Other than that, like I said, we'll talk SmackDown. We'll talk this past week's Dynamite, JAS breaking up, MJF and Cole now doing double duty at All In, wrestling for tag titles on the 0 hour and then headlining in the main event. Lots of stuff, lots of potential for that storyline there. That's why I'm not too concerned about this AEW All In card, because I think they got big shit planned for these two guys, and it might involve some swerves, some turns, some face turns, title changes, who knows. I'm really liking what they're doing there, so we'll talk about that as well. And we'll just shoot the shit, chit chat, see what you guys have to say in the chat there. Welcome again. Welcome back to a Saturday. Feels good to be back up here doing a podcast on Saturday, as now we have kind of moved these things to Monday nights since AEW stuck Collision on the calendar, and I'm on the West Coast, and I like to do my podcasts in the afternoon, and having Collision come on right after a podcast wasn't really going to work well for me logistically, but sometimes it will. That's why we're up here today, and it's been a crazy week, and as I'm watching Tito mess around with my wires, buddy, don't do that, okay? Don't be shutting down the stream. Anyway, let me cruise over here to the chat, say hello to everybody, and then we will get moving on what's on the menu. Let me straighten out my microphone, make sure I look okay. I'm all centered, looking good for you guys. Nothing's weird. Right on. Good to see Red Raven Rucker, Rodrigo and William Cullen, early ones in. Let me shout out these channel members, especially these year-long channel members now. George Morris, first one to say hi, as always. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? And how is Tito? Eric Sutter, found guilty on 7 felonies and sentenced to 60 years in prison. He had a sad look on his face. Wow, 7 felonies. So he got found guilty on 1/11th of the amount of felonies that Donald Trump is charged with, and he got 60 years? Holy shit. Donnie might get 600 years at this rate, but I don't even know who Eric Sutter is, to be honest with you. But Tito, as always, George, is doing fantastic. He's sleeping and moving around right under my desk as we speak. Victor Colon is also here, along with Isaac. Good to see you, man. Kayfabe brother for 12 months. Hey, Greg, do you think we might get a Cody and Gunther match in the near future? Yeah, they're both on the same brand. I think we might have to, but I've got other plans for Gunther, which we're going to talk about. I kind of detailed a little bit of my pitch this past Monday on the Raw review, but I've got this great idea for Gunther that I think will be perfect, leading him into dropping that Intercontinental title. I know just who he should drop it to, and then I think he's going to have some sort of influence with Cody in the Royal Rumble. Last year, Gunther was 1, Cody was 30, correct? And they were the last two. I think they'll do the same thing this year, except I think it's going to be Cody who's going to be number 1. Gunther's going to be number 30. And I don't know, but I think it's going to be hard for Cody and Gunther to stay away from each other unless they really keep these guys busy with doing other things for the next couple of months. I also would not mind, and I pitched this too the other night, what about a Cody and Gunther and Roman three-way at WrestleMania 40? WrestleMania 20 and WrestleMania 30, what were the main events? Triple threats. What was the outcome? Guy who'd never been champ before winning the titles. Well, I guess Daniel Bryan technically was champ, sort of, for that short time, but winning the big one in the main event of WrestleMania. Bryan did that. Benoit did that. You do the same thing with maybe Cody, because I think at this point, if you book Cody and Roman for WrestleMania next year, this far out when it's 7 or 8 months away, is it just me, or does that sound like the most predictable fucking main event in WrestleMania history? At least if you add a triple threat in there, or you had a third person in there, those 3 guys could tear it up. Tear it up. Plus, you could have a victory and keep one guy protected if you wanted. Really opens up the door. Plus, if Gunther is still so dominant by the time we get to WrestleMania, it won't be just an automatic, oh, Cody's winning this thing. You might actually convince people, no, it's going to be Gunther. So maybe that's one way to make it a little bit less predictable, but we'll talk a lot about the Bloodline, Cody, and what's going to happen next year at WrestleMania when we get into SmackDown and talk about what Jey Uso did last night. We also have Luke McAllister chiming in with the nice super chat. Thank you so much, dude. Hey, Greg, can't wait to attend All In. Had a blast at Money in the Bank. Call me biased, but I think UK fans are the best in the world. We deserve a WrestleMania in the not too distant future. Wembley will be jacked. You guys are the best fans in the world, and I think one of the big reasons, not only are you passionate fans, but WWE historically doesn't go over there a ton. They always do a tour once a year, twice a year, but they're not hitting the cities the way they are here in the US. So it's few and far between when they run the UK cities. So when they're there, the fans turn out in mass and they're energetic and they're all in, no pun intended. And you guys really make the show and the atmospheres in the show very, very good. And it's always been that way for years, ever since WWE's been going over there. And I think a WrestleMania being in the UK, I've always said would never happen or has a very slight chance of happening. That's now changed. I think this is the best chance wrestling has ever had of having a WrestleMania over there, especially if WWE is going to keep their eye on what AEW is doing at Wembley and how that is already shattering some attendance records. And they might want a piece of that too. Let's run. WWE's petty as shit. We all know that. So we'll run UK. We'll draw more than them. They'll make it their life's goal. Just to draw more and try to get 100,000 in Wembley or wherever, or maybe run again where they ran Clash at the Castle. And doing a WrestleMania over there, I would be perfectly fine with it. Perfectly fine. Luke, I hope y'all get it. And the fact that you went to Money in the Bank and you're going to All In, that's awesome. JJ Leg, the OG, been with me for a year now as well. Hell yeah. Victor Colon as well. And K-Dog's Kennel, good to see you, my friend. Showed off one of Kevin's lovely gifts that he sent to me on Monday, a little stone of bub. I still need to tweet that out, by the way, Kevin. Thank you so much for that very kind gift. We got the Juliet in the house. We've got Steve Jacobson, Ben Espinoza. I'm just kind of shouting out everybody here now. And we have OMR, Spaz Phoenix, and Yachiro. Good to see you. Welcome back. Spaz has got 10. Thank you so much, dude. Big love to Greg in the chat. I'd love some eyes on a piece. I just finished fantasy booking the rise and fall of the new Hurt Business. Man, that's a sexy looking group, is it not? Had a lot of fun with it all on all your vid and pod platforms. Yeah, check that out because I'm really curious how this is going to go. On paper, visually, these 3 guys look like they're unstoppable. This might be the best version of Bobby Lashley we've ever seen. And the fact that they have now incorporated the Street Profits into this, you could even bring Bianca Belair in or anybody else that maybe wants to turn heel or already has that cocky, arrogant persona to them, and they dress them up in a suit and you look good, they could be ready for this faction. Now, I'm not getting too excited about Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits yet because of WWE's track record. We have seen WWE snatch failure from the jaws of success many, many times before. So before I get too excited about Lashley and the Street Profits, I just want to make sure that this thing is actually going to work and it's not going to just fizzle out, or they're going to make a lot of the same mistakes they made with the Hurt Business before. I think it would be great if they could somehow get MVP away from Omos and put him back with the Hurt Business and reinstall him there. Would be great if they could figure out a storyline way to do that. And I think what we see so far is just the beginning. So go check out Spaz's thoughts on the new Hurt Business, or whatever this faction headed up by Bobby Lashley is going to be called. Let me see. Mike Rouse, did I get you? I'm not sure. The Juliet, I think I got you. Anybody else chiming in? Thanks for being here. We'll get into our wrestling news in 1 second. Let me say hello to another year-long Shoot Brother member, Victor Colon. What do you think of the idea of the women getting the Intercontinental title and United States title, getting the Intercontinental title and United States title, and getting rid of the women's tags? The women's tag team titles have been horrible. I definitely agree that the women's tag team titles have been cursed, but I think as bad as the luck has been with those championships, I think if they're going to have a situation happen to them again, where something's going to happen to a team member, or some set of circumstances is going to cause these titles to be forfeited yet again, at least this time, the titles are on a team that can actually probably run with this and make it interesting. I think they're really lucky that Chelsea is the one remaining here with these tag titles, just because of how great she's been doing as a performer and how good she is at this character. And somebody like her isn't just going to hand these over, So I'm glad that basically as soon as Sonya got injured, Chelsea's like, no, I'm still the tag champs. I'm going to hold auditions and, a talent show or whatever to help fill them. This might actually turn out to be something that is entertaining. So hopefully WWE can take a negative and turn it into a positive. Normally when a negative happens with these women's tag team championships, the negative turns into another negative or a bigger negative than it was even before. This time they actually have a chance to take something shitty that happened and make something of it. And I really hope they do. And we talked about Monday about how Nia Jax might actually be the perfect person to join Chelsea Green. Nobody likes her. She's shown shades of being that Karen type of character before. Nia Jax can definitely be an asshole. She's one in real life. All you got to do is be one on TV now, just like Chelsea is, and you got yourself a team. So we will see if it turns out to be Nia or whoever it's going to be. But in terms of getting rid of the women's tags and replacing them with the IC in the US, no, I do not want 4 singles championships in the women's division. When WWE has difficulty booking the women's division, you add more titles, you just add more titles for you to devalue and waste. So I think a lot of the women's tag team championship troubles, I think of half of it has been bad booking, half of it has been bad luck. And the combination of the two has made those titles a complete joke and cursed. But Chelsea might just be the person to bring them out of obscurity. Let me corral my cat before he shuts down the whole stream. Tito, come here. Say hi to the stream. Say hello. Hello, everybody. This is Tito. He is underneath the wires here playing with I don't know, do your cats love these things? These little like twist ties that come on, I don't know, like a loaf of bread or something, but he's going ape shit with it. So here, T, over there. Throw it over there so he gets out of there. Anyway. But yeah, like I said, having 4 singles championships in the women's division in WWE would be 3 titles too many in my mind. I already think we should only have 1 women's champion, and we have 2. So adding more belts, that's not the answer. I don't think. If I was WWE, they already merged the NXT and women's tags. I'm okay with having women's tag team championships provided you have teams. And for the first time in a while, you actually have teams, even though they're having trouble being focused. We got Alba and Melba Toast or whatever, and you got Caden Carter and the other one. And, we've got some teams. So at this point, it's up to the booking to make this work. And I am cautiously optimistic that the Chelsea Green stuff is actually going to turn out to be pretty entertaining because we all love Chelsea and love the work she's been doing. Good to see Max Pokebra in the house as well. Vash Starwind, Sonic Plays, Matos, Rambode. Right on. Anybody else chiming in? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here on a Saturday. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. And by the time, right when this podcast finishes, it'll be time to turn on AEW Collision. But why don't we get started with what we need to talk about today? And let's talk about some wrestling news first, and then we'll get into SmackDown from last night, and then we'll finish off with some AEW chatter, talk about Dynamite this past week, the breakup of the Jericho Appreciation Society, MJF and Cole announcing that they're going to be doing double duty, Hardys and Bucks. Sheeta got a victory, and we'll talk about the All-In card as well. Now that I picked up Tito, I got hair all in my face, and it's going to make me sneeze right on the podcast. But anyway, let's start out with some Bray Wyatt news, some promising Bray Wyatt news. Now, I have been voicing my frustrations over the past several months about Bray Wyatt, how his run ended and how everything started so great with the return and the White Rabbit, and then it just devolved into this Uncle Howdy stuff, and they drugged their feet so long it became uninteresting. Then you got a Mellow Yellow Ass Boy match at the Royal Rumble, and it just sucked. And it just took the wind out of my sails. I love Bray Wyatt as a performer. I think he's a very, very interesting character in wrestling, and he's a type of character that we haven't seen a whole lot of. But I started getting kind of a sour taste in my mouth about the whole thing, to where it got to the point where I even said on this podcast, I'm like, I don't care if he comes back or not. I don't care if he comes back or not, because if he does, I just don't know if I trust WWE to follow through with whatever they're going to follow through with. And when we heard the reports when Bray Wyatt first returned that, oh, we've got all these plans for him, his plans through WrestleMania are booked out, and we all figured it was going to be Bray Wyatt against Uncle Howdy or something like that they had creative plans in place that should get them through the next few months. But by the time we got to the beginning of the year and he's working with LA Knight and then going into a match with Lashley that never ended up happening, I'm like, that does not seem like the plans all along. So I don't know what we heard or what was wrong, or if WWE was truly really just trying to make this shit up on the fly. A character with so much depth like Bray Wyatt, and so much so much behind his motivations and the meanings behind everything that he does, that takes a lot of creativity. You kind of have to have your ducks in a row if you want to really book a complex storyline or character like that. And it just felt like the wheels were coming off, and it made me just kind of pissy about the whole thing. I'm like, I don't even care about the Bray Wyatt character anymore. That's the character. We learned that one of the reasons why Bray Wyatt has been out so long is due to some sort of health issue that we don't know about. But apparently this is actually a life-threatening and career-threatening health issue that he has, even though we don't really know what it is. And I had said earlier on in the year when I was complaining about Bray Wyatt, I'm like, this has nothing to do with Bray Wyatt the person. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's okay. I hope whatever's wrong with him, injury or health or otherwise, it's not too dangerous, or it's not too bad, or not too serious. And turned out it was. Now, following comes courtesy of Fightful Select. They posted a report yesterday about Bray Wyatt. And I quote, "At long last, there's some good Bray Wyatt news. Fightful has learned that Bray Wyatt is finally getting closer to clearance after almost 6 months without it. Wyatt has battled an illness that we won't disclose, and the company and Wyatt have been taking extra precautions to make sure that his long-term health is accounted for. But there is some positive news. Of late, we've confirmed that Wyatt isn't actively cleared, but those we've spoken to claim that he's getting closer, and that there have been some creative ideas presented. One source indicated that some ideas were even mentioned for September. However, that won't mean anything if he doesn't get that clearance. There were ideas for Wyatt to be integrated with Alexa Bliss, Eric Young, and Uncle Howdy. However, after Bray was sidelined, Alexa had maternity leave, and Eric Young requested and was granted his WWE release. Since publishing this article, it was confirmed to Fightful that the illness Bray was battling was both career and life-threatening, but that he's improved significantly. So whatever that was with Bray, I don't know if this is a personal decision for him to keep it private. That's his business. Really happy to hear that not only has he improved, but he's really close, and it sounds like a return is inevitable. Now, we were throwing his name out there for SummerSlam. There were some rumors that maybe Bray Wyatt can come back and, attack somebody or start a program with somebody at SummerSlam. He did not. Now, he could show up at Payback or September or whenever he's cleared later on this year, but they have some time now to put some stuff together for him. So I don't know if they have like an opponent in mind. Like, I'm going to keep my eye on Cody. If it doesn't look like Cody is really starting anything, because I said after SummerSlam, what is Cody going to do? I was like, how is Cody going to ignore, after beating Brock Lesnar, how are they going to have Cody and Seth ignore each other? How are they going to keep these two guys busy doing separate things? Because you would think Cody would be a number one contender to that belt, considering that he's beat that champion 3 times and he just beat Brock Lesnar, the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Seems like Cody would be in line for a shot, regardless of whether or not Cody wants that belt or not. He's a contender for it. So it's going to be hard for them to keep those guys separated. So last week on Raw, we saw Cody kind of get involved with Nakamura and Sami Zayn, and Nakamura then attacks Seth Rollins. That might be our payback match, and it still doesn't look like Cody's got a real direction for a feud. So if this keeps happening this coming week on Raw, if it still doesn't look like Cody's doing anything other than associating himself with Sami or Owens or being going up against the Judgment Day, if he's just still doing stuff like that, I wonder if that's WWE's way of having him tread water until Wyatt is ready to show up and then challenge or attack or start a program with Cody. I'm not really that fond of an idea of a Cody and Bray Wyatt feud based on what we've seen from Bray Wyatt before, but you never know. And hell, isn't Sister Abigail and Crossroads the same move? Might be kind of interesting, right? So we will see. But best of luck to Bray Wyatt. Very promising news on his return. And it will be, if he comes back in October, I think that's when he returned last year, right, at Extreme Rules. So if he comes back again 1 year after he already returned, we'll see what they do with him. One thing I would recommend, though, for WWE is that when you bring him back, maybe don't do all the puzzles again. That was really fun last year because we were all really optimistic what it was going to lead to. Oh, finally, Bray Wyatt is in the hands of someone who's going to creatively do the right thing with him. And then it wasn't very good at the end. So I don't need more White Rabbit. I don't need more codes. I don't need fucking QR codes again. No shit hiding in the background. Just bring him back. Don't tease us and then let us down again. I would rather just get hit in the face with Bray instead of being teased about Bray, because we've already seen the Bray teases so many times. There's only so much you can do with that. Just bring him back, and whether or not he'll have Funhouse elements to him or the Fiend elements to him, I would like to see him return just to the OG Bray Wyatt would be fun as well. Or if he does, in fact, want to make a new Wyatt family, he might. So we will see. Best of luck to Bray Wyatt. Keeping on the subject of WWE, Triple H is going to be removed from WWE's board of directors once the merger with UFC and Endeavor goes through. This TKO group has been selecting their board of directors all week. WWE has been selecting their spots. They had one more spot to select, but there was several names to choose from, including Michelle Barrios and Triple H and all these guys. Sounds like Triple H is not going to be part of the board of directors going forward. Once the merger is done, he's going to be focusing on the creative aspect of WWE. And I personally don't have any issue with that. Really, I don't care what goes on too much behind the scenes, as long as what goes on behind the scenes on a WWE show in terms of creative infrastructure and that type of thing isn't fucked with too much, and you got a good crew that actually produces your shows. What goes on the company end in the office, I really don't care, to be honest. Now, one of the members of the board is Vince McMahon, who is under a ton of scrutiny right now. Just got served with a federal search warrant and subpoena, still trying to clean up the mess from all his nonsense from last year. Plus, he just had spinal surgery. Plus, he's like really old. Maybe Triple H takes Vince's spot at some point in the future. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. As long as Triple H's job as head of creative in WWE is never threatened, then I'm fine. Hopefully, it won't be when you have this merger now. It is kind of funny to think about WWE in this way, how we really are venturing into uncertain times. We saw what a merger did to WCW. Now, with this merger, I think Endeavor wants WWE as a property. They want to make money off of it. They don't look at it as a nuisance the way, Time Warner did with and AOL did with the WCW. But when you're heading into basically a new group owning a WWE under new ownership for the first time in our entire lives, you wonder, things could easily crumble. Things could go bad. Triple H could have an issue with WWE's management or how they're running things or people at the top or whatever. And he could resign one day, and then you got to bring in another head of creative that maybe doesn't work out. Then you bring in another one. And that's what happened with WCW. It was a revolving door of kind of people in charge. And that's one thing WWE wants to make sure they stay away from. And, Stephanie isn't even in the company right now. So it's, it would be crazy if all the McMahons are gone and the one staying there is Triple H, but it might actually get to that point in the future. We don't know. And we don't know if Stephanie will find her way back in one day when Vince passes away or whatever. So I'm not too concerned with this news on the surface. I just hope that in the long term, provided Triple H is happy doing his job, because if Triple H is ever unhappy doing this, then he needs to get out, because you can't, what's your motivation to put out great shows if you hate what you're doing? So hopefully Triple H still enjoys being in that leadership role, being head of creative, helping develop, push talent, and all of that, provided that he's happy with that. WWE's happy with the job he's doing. We can have Triple H in the driver's seat for many years to come, but I think that that's nowhere near a given, and WWE's internal future is as about uncertain as it's ever been. And that's a little bit scary, to be honest. I mean, when you look at it, AEW right now, they're the ones that have, the WWE vibes from a few years ago. One guy owning it, a guy with a hell of a lot more money than Vince McMahon when Vince was struggling there in the 90s. Tony Khan owning AEW on his own, absolves them from some of this nonsense that you go through when you're owned by a different entity or under an umbrella or have a merger or whatever. AEW doesn't have to worry about that. And if WWE's wheels start coming off again, we've seen the seesaw go back and forth. We've seen the pendulum swing between these two companies. In 2019 and 2020, WWE, in my mind, couldn't get any lower, and AEW was all the rage. And they were the talk of the wrestling business and gaining a lot of momentum. And then when CM Punk came back, that put them over the edge. Things are great. In my mind, they were demolishing WWE in just about every aspect. But then the minute that Vince news came down and Vince kind of had to take a step back, then he officially retired right around the same time Cody came in, and then Brawl Out happened. See, all that shit that WWE was going through and all that greatness that AEW was going through, and it flipped. Next thing you know, WWE has all of a sudden got their act together. Their ratings are up. Their attendance are up. Their storylines are better. Fan interest in general is better because Vince is out, Triple H is in. At the same time, Brawl Out happens, fucks up morale in AEW, and they drop down a couple of pegs. So don't get too excited if you're one of these tribal dumbasses that, get a rock hard, raging, mega huge erection when one of these companies fails or does bad at something. That's stupid. And that's short-sighted, because at any given day, this shit can flop again. And when the merger goes through and Vince McMahon is finally gone, or all of these changes that are still going to come and are still currently happening in WWE, those changes could also make it an unpleasant place to be. We've heard talent like Eric Young, who requested his release when he found out Vince McMahon was back. No, I don't want to work with that motherfucker. Who knows what can happen in WWE's future that could change the momentum again. So if you're an AEW hater, don't start whacking off just yet, because WWE could easily crumble, and AEW's got All In coming up 1 year after Brawl Out that really put a damper on their momentum. Now, they're going to set some records in Wembley Stadium, pushing their momentum over the edge. At the same time, maybe WWE experiences a downturn, bloodline stories, jump the shark, things like that. So the cool thing about the wrestling business that I remember from back in the WCW and WWE days in the Monday Night Wars is that momentum shifts happen and nothing is permanent. If AEW is on fire and WWE is cold, that's only temporary, because it's only a matter of time before WWE starts getting hot again and then AEW gets cold. That's the way it goes. So nothing that you see right now is definite. If WWE's in the driver's seat right now and they're annihilating AEW in every aspect of ratings and attendance, well, just wait, because that might not last. It was only a few years ago that WWE was pulling in 2,000 and 3,000 people for Monday Night Raws with half of the fucking building tarped off. I was at Dynamite just a few months ago here in San Diego. It's a 10,000 seat arena. They filled 7,000 seats there. Same building that had Bash at the Beach in 98. Only 2,900 more people attended Bash at the Beach 98 than attended Dynamite last May in that very same building. So it's not as out of whack as people think. And I think the momentums can easily change at any time for any company. So hopefully Triple H not being on the board of directors will have no effect whatsoever on what we see from them creatively, because even though Triple H is not perfect, even though I think Triple H has made a couple of mistakes and he's not booking the women's division well, and there's a couple of other things I don't love, overall, Triple H is a trillion times more capable in my mind creatively than Vince McMahon. And I'm very, very happy that Triple H is there, and I hope he doesn't go anywhere. I don't really think in WWE you can get really any better than Triple H. He's been there a long time, had all that time in NXT. He has personal relationships and has developed relationships with his talent, knows what they're capable of, what they can do, what they can't do, and all that stuff. And he's very, very dialed into that. So hopefully he can remain in control creatively in WWE for as long as humanly possible. I hope 10 years from now, 10 years from this moment, 2033, that Triple H is still there, still sitting at Gorilla with his glasses. He'll be like 68 years old or whatever in 10 years, or maybe less than that. But he'll be old. I hope he's still there doing his thing in WWE, because he's a big improvement from Vince McMahon. Let's switch gears to AEW. Let's talk about them for a second. Tony Khan has moved Fight for the Fallen. He's moved Fight for the Fallen up. I don't know when it was originally planned for, but he wants to do Fight for the Fallen this week to spread across AEW Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. The reason he's doing this is because he wants to donate proceeds to the Maui Food Bank. And of course, Maui has been hit and ravaged by wildfires, which is just crazy. Lots of people dead, dozens of people killed in this thing, and displaced. And as somebody who lives in Southern California and has experienced wildfires myself, these things are no joke. They can completely ruin your lives. They're not like a hurricane or a flood where you can salvage some shit. A fire destroys everything. Everything. It'll melt your car. So nothing's left. No heirlooms, no pictures, nothing. Your entire home is torched and melted into the fucking ground. And it's horrible what they're going through. So Tony Khan wants to help out. He sent out a tweet yesterday thanking TBS, TNT, and Warner Brothers Discovery for working with them to change their marketing last minute to, advertise this stuff. And I guess a portion of the proceeds for Wednesday's Dynamite and Saturday's Collision are going to go to benefit the victims of the Hawaiian wildfires there. So very cool of Tony Khan to do that. So Fight for the Fallen will be this week, and we'll be talking about what is on tap for Wednesday, including a Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match. Between Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett. Okay, that should be interesting, but we'll talk about that later. And like I said, Fyter Fest will be the go-home week of All In. So I guess we'll have Fight for the Fallen this week, then we'll have a regular week the week after, and then it'll be Fyter Fest will be considered the go-home for All In and All Out. Speaking of All In, they have officially surpassed the paid ticket number of SummerSlam 1992. As of 2 days ago, All In's ticket sales are 79,346, surpassing SummerSlam 92's paid attendance of 79,127. Now, it's pretty safe to say that they should be able to sell these last 650 seats and get 80,000 in the building, but there still is about 4,000 seats left over still to be sold. So they're at capacity at 84,000. So the hope and the belief is that they will surpass 80,000. I think that would be awesome if they did. In terms of the records it sets, none of that is important to me at all. There was a post on Twitter that I saw from some website or some account that was touting the ticket sales for All In. AEW officially surpasses SummerSlam 92. That's it. Put the two numbers side by side. And I was like, Greg, don't click on the replies. Don't click on the replies. Don't click on the replies. I clicked on the replies, knowing damn well what I would read. Butthurt fans. All men. Yeah, sure. Proof? You got proof? They are so angry and so fucking tribal. They are slaves to their own tribalism, to where something like this, news that is good. Look at this company that's 4 years old is going to put 80,000 people in a goddamn stadium in London. That's incredible. What about, I don't think that number's accurate, blah, blah, blah. Nitpicking the fuck out of this number is the only thing the haters have left. It blew my mind. I shouldn't blow my mind. It actually made me laugh of just how butthurt they are. That two wrestling companies both doing good business at the same time is just too much for their fragile souls to handle. It's too much. The fact that they complain about this, the fact that they question the number and all of that, the number does not matter at this point. It does not matter what the number is. If AEW All In drew 60,000, hell, if they drew 55,000, I would consider it a huge success for AEW. That's already going to be the biggest crowd they've ever drawn. But no, they're coming close to filling this thing. And I know it's not the same Wembley Stadium. The Wembley Stadium in 92 was torn down a few years ago, and a new stadium was built in its place, right on the same location, still called Wembley Stadium, just a much nicer venue. So it's not technically the same, but it is the same. And they are going to put more people in this stadium, most likely, than WWE did for SummerSlam 92. But even if they didn't, and that's where the haters are so bizarre. Like, let's say we're actually able to get some actual, accurate, real numbers, because we all know any attendance number that WWE announces is bullshit. It's bullshit. It is not real. So you got to find the actual, accurate ticket sales, the ticket numbers, that type of thing. And if you are able to find the SummerSlam exact number and All In's exact number, and let's say SummerSlam draws 200 more people, you're going to have these dipshits singing and dancing like it's a fucking victory or something. No, it's a victory for AEW, regardless of what number they pull. Anything over 60,000 is going to be incredible, and they have demolish that. So they're going to have way more than 60. They're going to have 80. This is a big deal. And I think it's absolutely absurd that fans are actually mad, big mad, butthurt, because they cannot stand the fans on the other side of this tribal war. And they ruin everything for themselves. It is more important for them to hate the fans on the other side than it is to enjoy wrestling. Think about that out loud. Back in the day, in the Attitude Era, I carried the WWE flag. I preferred WWE over WCW, but I certainly did not give a shit if WCW had fans that enjoyed their show. The last thing in the world that would have occurred to me at that time was to go out of my way to attack fans of WCW for liking a product that I didn't like as much as WWE. I watched more of WWE because I felt WWE was better. I watched more of the show that I preferred. That's it. There was 2 shows going on, Nitro and Raw. I liked Raw better, so I watched Raw. I might have thrown a joke or two WCW's way, sure, but I was never spewing hate. I wasn't so obsessed. I didn't let hating WCW become my entire identity. And I know it's not really like that in real life. This is more a social media type of thing, where you have accounts dedicated to hating AEW botches and all these little bitch boy, dirtbag, toothless fuckheads, sitting God knows where in some smelly ass room, smelling like Parmesan cheese in a Buick, typing nonsense into the air because they simply cannot handle. They're too fragile to handle 2 wrestling companies doing good things at the same time. Nope, can't handle that. My precious little heart can't take it. So they act like babies, and they cry, and they whine, and they bitch, and they insult, and they put down, and they lash out because they're insecure, and they're obsessed, and they're bitches. So if you have anything negative to say about AEW's attendance, I don't know if it's going to surpass SummerSlam, it doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. Nitpicking the fuck out of the number is all they have. That's all they have to cling to. So the haters are going to do that. But don't engage with that. Who cares? I don't care if AEW All In draws more or less than SummerSlam. It does not matter to me. If they draw less than SummerSlam, fine. They still put 75,000 plus people, close to 80,000 in that building. That is a monumental success. To look at that as anything else other than a success is fucking delusional. And so I just laughed. I'm like, these fans have got to get lives. I am begging you, motherfuckers, please get out there and see the world. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, and you'll realize that all this trivial nonsense that you waste your fucking time with 24/7 is silly. Be happy, be positive. Why is everybody so goddamn fucking negative and butthurt about everything? And it just cracked me up. I'm like, yeah, that's the way wrestling is now. Can't avoid it. It's the way fans are. They are so desperate to be heard, so desperate to feel important. Like everybody needs to know what this dipshit with 26 followers thinks of the All In attendance. No, we don't give a fuck. This is a big deal for AEW, and it's a big deal no matter what Joey Asscock bunch of numbers thinks on Twitter. So if you have a problem with this number and you've been wasting your time debating people online, stop. What the fuck are you doing? Do something else better. Get real problems, So anyway, AEW is doing pretty good with All In. It sounds like they have surpassed the SummerSlam attendance, but if people are butthurt about that and they want to debate it, go ahead and debate it. I don't give a shit if it beats SummerSlam or not. This is a huge number. And as I said on Monday, my personal belief is that this is the biggest AEW is ever going to do. I cannot see a scenario where they're going to draw more than this, at least in the immediate future. Because I have a feeling after Wembley, it's going to be a great show. Regardless of how the card looks, it's going to be a really good show. And I think Tony Khan's going to be tempted to immediately make an announcement and do it next year. We're coming back. He's like that. So I bet you he's probably going to do something like that. And then next year they're going to go there and they're probably going to be in the 50 or 60 range. That's my prediction. I don't think AEW is going to be able to do and draw 80K annually in Wembley. It's just going to be tough to do. And plus, if that does become a thing they want to do, then WWE is going to probably try to counter promote them too. And WWE was just there a month ago and AEW was still pulling in 80K. Imagine if Money in the Bank wasn't at the O2. Would it increase attendance for All In? Maybe a little. Might give them that extra 1,000 or 2 push they needed to get to that 80K. I certainly believe that. So, but I think that the crowd we're going to see at All In is going to be the biggest AEW ever draws. I can't imagine a scenario where they can outdo this unless they go back to Wembley and they pack it with more, technically, a few thousand more seats, or if they go to Dallas and try to do 100K like WWE did for WrestleMania, something like that. But other than that, I can't really foresee a scenario where AEW is going to draw more than what they're going to draw at All In. This seems like it's going to be the peak of fan attendance for them. And it's going to be the show that they talk about the way WWE talked about WrestleMania 3 for so many years. You know, WrestleMania 3 was kind of their number one show that everybody talked about. Oh, that was a life-changing event. This can be that for AEW, especially if you have, some talent that gets out there and gets to experience that, has a match, does something memorable, and they can, sew it into their legacy. This can be a big night, not only for AEW, but for a lot of the wrestlers, men and women on the card. So I'm just, I'm hoping for all the best. But the card so far, we'll talk about that though. Nigel McGinnis apparently might be headed back to the ring. Fightful Select reported this today, and I quote, Nigel McGinnis could be headed back to the ring. Sources have confirmed to Fightful Select that former Ring of Honor champion has been taking measures to try to return to the ring. We've not been told definitively that McGinnis has been cleared for a return, but that he'd been taking measures that indicated he was considering a return. The 47-year-old last wrestled over a decade ago. His last match was in December of 2011. His last televised match was back in September of 2010 on TNA Explosion against Stevie Richards. We can confirm that McGinnis was brought up in recent months as a possible competitor on the All In card. However, we can't confirm if there are plans in order for him to wrestle or if it's been broached internally by AEW. Now, David Bixenspan today tweeted, I didn't write down the tweet, I just kind of saw it when I was scrolling. He had a problem with this. He says he has no interest in seeing Nigel McGinnis return to the ring due to the amount of concussions he has had. And he has told stories where he forgets chunks of his life 6 years at a time, but this is a doctor's call. I mean, if he has some early forms of CTE or concussion or head trauma throughout his career that might disqualify him from competing or be unable to get him cleared, then the doctors need to make that call. So if he really does have some scrambled brains, he does not need to be getting in the ring. He seems to be doing fine. I love him on commentary. Saw him at WrestleCon doing magic. He's keeping himself busy. If he wants to get back in the ring, maybe for a final comeback match or something, maybe he can do one. But I don't know. As far as him coming back, I want him to do whatever is best for him. And if his doctors give him a clean bill of health and give him the green light to get back in the ring, get back in the ring. It's his call, not mine. So best of luck to whatever Nigel McGinnis winds up doing. AEW Full Gear location has been announced, or at least been almost announced. I don't think it's been official. Fightful Select had an article or report 2 days ago, about Full Gear. And I quote, Fightful Select has confirmed that the traditional November pay-per-view event for AEW is headed to the West Coast. Sources with knowledge of the situation stated that AEW Full Gear is currently slated for the Kia Forum in LA, Los Angeles, California, Sunday, November 18th on internal calendars. Saturday, November 18th on internal calendars. This would cause an adjustment to Collision, but we aren't sure how yet. So this is a Saturday pay-per-view that will be in the way of Collision unless they try to do Collision earlier in the day or whatever. But it is in LA, right up the road from me. I've already been to a AEW show at the Forum. It was a lot of fun. So I will be at Full Gear. If anybody's going later on in November, hit me up. We'll try to do another meetup. It should be a blast. I'm looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to Full Gear in Los Angeles. The report goes on to read, we've heard that fairly recently, the pay-per-view was actually discussed for Sunday, which would be November 19th. There were some surprised people in relation to it being on the calendar for the Sunday, as the Jacksonville Jaguars have a home game against the Titans that day. In the past, AEW has avoided scheduling pay-per-view events on Sundays, with Tony Khan noting that as an NFL owner, he didn't want to compete against himself. I guess that makes sense. In addition to Full Gear at the Forum, we've heard that Dynamite, days prior, will be in Ontario, California, which I believe is where Raw is in a week or so. I think Raw's coming to Ontario real soon. I just saw some ticket information about that. So back to the West Coast for AEW, Kia Forum, Full Gear. That should be a blast. I will be there. So cool. Join us in LA. We'll hang out. We'll party. We'll boogie. That type of stuff. Before we get into some WWE news and then we roll into SmackDown and Dynamite, let me cruise back to the chat here, see if everybody's behaving and everything's going well. And if there's anybody else I need to say hello to, and we'll knock out any super chats that are here. And then we will talk about Buddy Matthews and Rhea. I'm sorry, we'll talk about the women's tags, then Buddy and Rhea. Then we'll talk about Hulk Hogan. That's how he says his own name, Hulk Hogan. I've always said I hate how Hulk Hogan says his own name. It's annoying. Anyway, Spaz is chiming in with 20 more. Excuse me. Spectre, you got 10. I'll hit you next. Spaz, thank you again, dude. You are the best. Go check out the Spazsters YouTube channel. Good stuff over there. Lots of good discussion with the Judgment Day, Brawling Brutes, LWO, and the OC. Schism, Lashley's new group. I think a faction type of title would be interesting down the line. Never even thought about that before. But the first holders should be Braun Breaker and the Creeds as a trio. Oh, man. So what do you call a four-way tag title, eight-man tag title? I don't even know what you would call that. What would you name a faction title? I wouldn't want it to be called like an 8-man or a 8-person or anything like that. I want to give it a name, I don't know what you'd call it, though. Also, to Spaz, with all those groups that you mentioned, we saw Karrion Kross, not the best match he's ever had against AJ Styles last night, just that one little miscommunication. But, Kross doesn't seem to really impress much in the ring. And he also posted on Twitter a little video. I don't know if they ran that on SmackDown last night. I didn't see it. I just saw it on social media, where he seems to be teasing a faction, a brotherhood of some kind. So you might add a group for Karrion Kross if he's going to head up some group. That might actually be something good for him to do instead of trying to push him as a singles, because he just ain't cutting it as a top guy, a main eventer. He is not giving off those vibes at all, but he still has a good look, good presentation with Scarlett and all of that. There's stuff there. So you could even add a Karrion Kross group to that, provided WWE doesn't treat them like jobbers. But I kind of like that idea of a faction championship. But then, Spaz, you've gotten yourself into a position where you got to make sure you have factions. And I don't know, that's another thing you got to keep track of, which might be hard to do. We'll see. Spectra, thank you so much, dude, for the 10. Hey, Greg, how's it going? Since we're about 2/3 through the year, what's your match of the year on a short list of matches of the year? I personally say Ospreay and Omega. Forbidden Door. I liked a lot of matches on that show, man. I liked Danielson and Okada too. Ospreay and Omega for sure, in terms of just crazy off the wall ring work. But in terms of matches just being a good overall story, man, I don't know. Help me out with, I just have such a bad memory. I like the tag match with Roman and Solo against the Usos at Money in the Bank. I like Gunther and Sheamus and Drew at Mania. I like Gunther and Drew and Drew at SummerSlam. I don't know what would be match of the year. I suck at this stuff, man. I really, really suck. Spectre, once I get some suggestions, I'll say, oh yeah, that sounds like a good one, or I remember that. But off the top of my head, in the middle of a podcast when I'm trying to talk about other things, I can't wrap my brain around that at the moment. But thank you so much, Spectre, for that. I do agree with Ospreay and Omega, though, for sure. That match I remember being one for the ages. Unreal, man. So good. What's up, Vash? I think I got you earlier. Just other names popping in. Zach Pelgett, good to see you as well. Rob Strickland, what are my season 5 ideas for Dark Side of the Ring? Again, that's something I got to think about. We need to talk about that during a watch along or something where we can just spitball ideas. Don't have time for that during a podcast right now, but hell, one episode I think we need to see would be Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon. Yo, Ronnie, good to see you too, man. Saying hi to all my friends. Please excuse me while I do this. And Chris Ludeck, what up, dude? Appreciate the 5. Hey, maybe we can actually hang out. Hey, Greg, I think I'm going to go. Want to meet up then for Full Gear? Yes, I do. Also, did you see the top 30 wrestlers under 30 list, and what did you think of it? I did not see the top 30 wrestlers under 30 list, but I want to see it, and I'll check it out tonight for sure. And hell yeah, man, let's meet up for Full Gear. We'll go up there that afternoon, hang out, have some cold brews, something like that. Maybe we can even try to get our seats near each other. I'm probably just going to StubHub these things like I always do so I can pick my seat. Not going to bother with the on-sale date. That's too stressful. So we'll try to pick up some good seats for that. We'll see. Maybe we can hang out, Chris. That would be super awesome. Ooh, Cross and Schism. There you go. Maybe Cross developing this brotherhood is going to lead to an NXT call-up. That could be too. I argue that Cross doesn't have enough rub, to give NXT stars, to give them the push, needed. But sometimes that doesn't matter. You get a faction together, people can play off each other. And sometimes that's how, talent can really get ahead and developed, Cross included. Who knows? Maybe if you put him with the right pieces, it could be just what he needs to get him a little bit more attention. Because look at what throwing people together did for the Judgment Day when it felt like it wasn't going to work at first. And then they really turned it around. So maybe Cross can have that same effect. I hope that he can. Stephanie and Savage conspiracy theories. Oh my God. I don't know if that would fill a whole episode though, but that would be an interesting one. I'd be tuning into that one for sure. Let's talk a little bit about, we already talked about the women's tag team championships. They have not stripped Chelsea as of yet. It doesn't look like they're going to. She's actually holding auditions where people can send in videos to pitch their possibility of joining her and replacing Sonya Deville. She got a video from James Ellsworth wanting to join in this. He said, hey, look what I did for Carmella. I could do the same thing for you. We mentioned Nia Jax being a possibility last Monday when we were talking about these things, and kind of occurred to me as we were talking. I'm like, oh shit, Nia Jax probably actually could play an asshole like that because she's an asshole in real life. Plus the fans can't stand her. Nobody really wants to see her. And putting her with Chelsea, hopefully it would not kill Chelsea. That's my only concern. I mentioned that on Monday. I'm like, maybe the only downside to this possibly, because I think Nia Jax and what she offers, something like this is probably the best case scenario for her, just being an asshole who we can all boo. But there's a difference between, having Chelsea heat and having X-Pac heat, or who else we don't want to see, Austin Theory heat or something like that, to where Nia's involvement with Chelsea is going to cause fans to lose interest in what Chelsea's doing. So that's something that WWE at least needs to keep in mind if they do want to bring Nia Jax in to replace Sonya Deville. But I do think, as much as I hate to say it, and trust me, I do not enjoy going to bat for Nia Jax. But if you're looking for a partner that's going to, make a statement and character-wise could probably fill in Sonya's spot relatively decently, man, trust me, I don't like saying it, but Nia Jax, I think, would do a good job. I don't even like saying that out loud. Makes me feel dirty. But anyway, we could see Nia Jax come back. We will see. Kind of a sad story to report here regarding Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley. As we all know, Rhea Ripley is involved in a very hot and heavy romantic relationship with Dominic Mysterio. They are madly in love. And you can see that. It comes out on camera. Every time they're in public together, they are so cute. They are so sweet. You can tell how hot these two are for each other. And, Buddy Matthews, bless his heart, Buddy Matthews is friends with Rhea Ripley. And you can tell that Buddy is like really, really in love with her, because every time him and Dominic and Rhea post something, on social media, he always has to chime in with something. You can tell that he's jealous, basically, that Dominic and Rhea are so in love with each other. And he's upset that Rhea friend zoned him all those years ago when they got together, because, look at Rhea and look at Buddy. Rhea is gorgeous. She's a 10 out of 10. Buddy, he's kind of gross looking. You know, he's ugly, he's flabby, he smells. He doesn't look like he works out or anything like that. He's just like this regular run-of-the-mill dude. But he's in love with Rhea. But, you know, she likes him for his personality because he's a really nice guy. And they've been friends for so long. But, you know, Buddy's been in the friend zone for so long. And he sees Dominic and Rhea's happiness, and it upsets him. And I think, I don't know, maybe he was drinking or something like that, and he wasn't in a good place. And he posted something on social media, a picture of Rhea Ripley and himself, and claiming that the two of them are engaged. It's sad, man. It's just sad. We've all been friend zoned before. We understand that, but it's really lame to make up stories. You shouldn't make up stories. That's where I draw the line. I understand how Buddy feels. You know, it's got to be very hard to watch somebody that he's in love with be so madly in love with somebody else. I know that's not fun. But to make up stories, you know, to actually pretend that you are engaged to her and you're going to marry this woman, I think Tony Khan needs to think about maybe getting Buddy Matthews some psychiatric help, because this is not good. You can't have like delusional people on your roster when they're getting in the ring, and you have to trust them with your body. You know, if they're thinking about some woman they're in love with that's in love with somebody else, they could drop you on your head or something like that. You know, plus, you know, Buddy Murphy's not that strong. He doesn't work out or anything. So, you know, he could be very dangerous in the ring with his unstable mental condition. I just hope, you know, Rhea, I'm sure, is pretty pissed off about this. She's probably cut him off completely, but hopefully she can be a little bit understanding that he's just hurting. That's all. And hopefully, you know, he can apologize and move on with his life and accept that Rhea Ripley and Dominic are together, because the sooner he accepts that, the better it's going to be for him. And we here on the channel just wish Buddy Matthews all the best with his mental health going forward. We love you. We love you, Buddy. Stay strong. Stay strong. Anyway, Hulk Hogan turned 70 years old yesterday. Oh my gosh. The Hulkster is 70, brother. Happy birthday, Hulk Hogan. I guess this guy is still here, still kicking, and still telling lies. So Hogan had a 70th birthday. That blows my mind growing up, you know, watching Hogan come on the scene. I watched him win the championship. I remember all of that. I was watching wrestling before Hogan even won the title 39 years ago. And the fact that he's turning 70 makes me feel old. I had a Hulk Hogan birthday cake when I was 9. Still have a picture of it. I think I put it on Instagram one time. And Hulk Hogan has stood the test of time year after year through pro wrestling. The fact, I've said this about Hogan before, he did something that was really rare at that time. I feel that Hogan became equally popular as a heel as he did a babyface. He had that 80s run, you know, where he just completely changed the business, and then he changed the business a second time. You know, he was part of that NWO angle that was a game-changing angle. Plus, Hall and Nash were involved in that angle, and they were game-changing in how contracts are structured and handled and written out. All of that changed. Hulk Hogan was at the center of two of the biggest changes in the industry's history, and to me, that's pretty incredible. And everything could have fizzled out after WCW, but he got brought back to WWE. Fans welcomed him back. WWE put the belt on him, and then they've been bringing him in as a Babe Ruth-type character ever since, even when he fucks up with his racial slurs and his lying and his dumb shit. So anyway, Hogan is 70. 70. Holy shit. And happy birthday to the Hulkster. Let me see. What should we get into next? Let me knock out this other super chat from Spaz. Appreciate the 7 more from you, or the $6.99. Kind of cool to see Jeff and Jeff this week. That's a match that got me to try TNA way back in the day. Huh, yeah, I guess that's true. Hardy and Jarrett probably did have some matches in TNA. I don't even remember their history there. I'm trying to think if they did anything in WWE. Not really. Jeff left in 99, right when the Hardys, as a matter of fact, his last night was the night the Hardys basically got on the map. Same night. Cleveland, Gund Arena. That was the night that Jeff lost, or Jarrett lost to China, and then they did the ladder match with Edge and Christian and the Hardys, which the Hardys won and really launched them. So yeah, Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett probably didn't really have anything to do with each other until TNA. That is pretty interesting. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the motivation was. Did we see anything like that set up? Or I guess the Hardys have been doing stuff with Jarrett and his crew, maybe on Rampage a little bit, right? So maybe that's what that's stemming from. But Hardy and Jarrett in a Texas Chainsaw Death Match Massacre thing, whatever it is. Be careful, Jeff Hardy. Be careful. I cringe every time I see this guy take a bump, knowing that the body that he has and the wear and tear he's put on it. And I hope that he can survive the death match with a guy who's even older than him, which is crazy. No, I do not like Hulk Hogan's WCW theme. I don't think of it fondly. Did the same guy sing that? I think so. I don't think it was Rick Derringer was doing WWE stuff in the Pile Driver album, and I forgot who sings Real American. But anyway, Real American is so much better than American Made. I thought WCW's version was cheesy sounding. I mean, it was okay. Some fans have memories of it. I just, when you hear Real American for 10 years and then switching over to that, nah, not for me. Not for me. Matt Coughlin, you thought Rhea and Dom in a relationship was just a storyline. What? A storyline? Are you crazy? You can see how much they love each other on TV. You must be blind, Matt, because no, it's 100% real. No storyline. I just feel bad for Buddy that he has to, endure this. It's sad. Sad. And yeah, Matt is right. Smash that like button. Let's talk about last night's SmackDown. This is the first SmackDown since SummerSlam, since the Jey Uso and Roman Reigns match, which was not well received by the audience. And based on the finish there, the tribal combat rules and Solo and Jimmy and everybody interrupting, it gave the fans the feeling that maybe this angle had jumped the shark. Now, I said on the review of SummerSlam, well, we have to wait and see what they do on Friday, because on SmackDown, you would think we're going to get some sort of explanation from Jimmy, even though I'm not too interested in what that might be. It's probably either going to be a jealousy thing or whatever. Turned out to be that he just didn't want his brother to become an asshole. That's fucking lame. But I even said on Sunday, let's just wait and see how they explain this, because a lot of fans were pointing out that the tribal combat rules were not adhered to. There was supposed to be no interference until the match was over or some shit like that. And there was interference. Solo was all over that thing. So I was kind of wondering if maybe the elders would show up. They've been talking about the elders. At some point, the elders have got to make an appearance, you would think. I thought maybe the elders would show up and say, no, you actually broke the rules of tribal combat. And it clearly states in the tribal combat bylaws that if you violate these rules, you lose your championship, or you must immediately grant a rematch or give them another chance or something like that. And we didn't really get that last night. We had the Bloodline in the ring, and Roman is there. Solo's there. We have Heyman. Jimmy and Jey are in the ring. And Jimmy basically told Jey, that the reason he did what he did is so you wouldn't turn out like him, and Roman kind of like, oh man. And I just thought that was such a weak explanation. This is your brother in the biggest match of his life in front of 60,000 people at one of WWE's premier pay-per-view events. In the main event, he will never be in a bigger position than what he is right now. And the threat of him potentially becoming an asshole like Roman Reigns is what you, as his brother, motivates you to come down there, pull him out of the ring, and cost him the championship, the chance to be the tribal chief, millions of dollars, security for his family, career legacy, Hall of Fame legacy cemented. I just take my chances. If I'm in this position, guys, go ahead and take your chances with me. Maybe I'll become an asshole, maybe I won't, but don't interfere and cost me the championship, because that's shitty. And I thought the explanation was shitty. I'm like, they got to do better than this, but still the Bloodline gets over. For the fans that say this has jumped the shark, listen to that crowd. Did that crowd last night on SmackDown during this segment sound like they were disinterested at all in what was going on? No. This still has plenty of juice. I did not like the ending of SummerSlam, and I did not like the explanation. But I'm hoping that we can still take this somewhere interesting, because it did end in a great way. Now, Jimmy said his piece. He starts to leave. It leaves Jey in the ring by himself. Roman starts laughing at him, mocking him, and Jay's like, fuck this, super kicks Roman right in his stupid face, takes out Solo Sikoa as well. Roman regains control and is about to put Jey down with a spear before getting super kicked again. So Jey disposes of Solo and Roman Reigns. And then Jimmy, who's walking away slowly down the aisleway with his back turned, still seems a little bit conflicted on what to do. Jey gets out of the ring. He goes, Jimmy, come here, come here. And Jimmy starts walking up to him to give him a hug, and Jey blasts him in the face too with a super kick. The fans loved it. Jey didn't get on the mic. He just got right in the camera, and he goes, I'm out. I'm out of the Bloodline. I'm out of SmackDown, and I'm out of WWE. Peace. Just like me when I'm closing out a podcast. and he's gone. He quits WWE. That's what Jey Uso says. Is Jey Uso quitting WWE? No, I don't think so. Jey Uso's not injured. A lot of fans on Twitter last night were saying, oh, what they're going to do is Jey will just be off TV until the beginning of the year, because we've heard the rumors and reports that WWE wants to book Jey and Jimmy at WrestleMania. We heard that before SummerSlam. And in my predictions, when we were talking about the possibility of Jimmy interfering, I'm like, well, if they want to do Jimmy and Jey at WrestleMania next year, then doing the turn here would be really early. What are they going to do? How are they going to hold off these guys all this time? Think about how hard it was for WWE to hold off Taker and Kane from October to WrestleMania. It's still August. So to do that seemed a little bit weird. But now with the Jey Uso quitting angle, some fans are saying, oh, he's going to stay off TV. Why would he stay off TV, though? Did he request this time off? Because it would be stupid for him to stay off TV this long for storyline. He's a contracted wrestler who's healthy. Fans like him. He's over. Keep him on TV. He's one of the best piece of talents that you have. Don't take him off TV unless you have to. So this is, in my mind, got to be a temporary thing. I think it could just result in Jey being gone for a couple of weeks and then resurfacing on Raw. Now, I know the brand split doesn't mean a whole lot because guys are moving back and forth anyway, but they were able to separate Ray and Dom, sort of. You know, Ray went to SmackDown to get away from that whole situation. They could do something similar with Jey and Jimmy, where Jey quits and maybe Triple H or Adam Pearce makes a phone call. Why don't we bring you back? But I'll tell you what, we'll put you on Raw. You can compete over here for the championships, and you can be away from the bloodline and all of that. And then maybe Jey agrees, because I think that would make a lot more sense than him staying off of TV till January. People who think they should do that are crazy. You don't leave a talent that good off TV for that long, who has momentum, who just main evented SummerSlam. You're just going to take him off TV for 6 months when he's not injured? Come on, man. Think, McFly. So no, I don't believe he's going to be off TV for that long. He could be off TV for a short amount of time, sure, but we still have Payback like 3 weeks away. How do you not do Jimmy and Jey at Payback? I feel like we're going to get Jimmy and Jey at Payback, and then maybe you do an injury angle there or something, and then you do the rematch at WrestleMania. But in order for these guys to face for the first time at WrestleMania, you're going to have to somehow keep them separated. And the only way to do that, in my mind, is to either A, keep Jey off TV the whole time, which I would not recommend, or move him to Raw and just give him a fucking feud to worry about. He can get all involved with the Sami Zayn and Owens stuff. Owens could be very uneasy about his presence. Sami is going to be happy that Jey finally freed himself of the bloodline. He quit. It could be Sami. That's who it's probably going to be. It's not going to be Adam Pearce or Triple H. It might be Sami reaching out. We'll see something like that on Raw on Monday, I bet. There'll be some segment backstage where Sami, and who knows, maybe if Owens is still injured for any reason, he can't get back, maybe Jey Uso could replace him and hold the tag team titles that he lost back again as a replacement, which would be weird. But seeing Jey come to Raw could definitely have story to tell with Sami Zayn, who is now going to be very happy that his, brother from another mother has left that faction, just like he said he was going to do and he should do all these many months. You send Jey to Raw, he can get in the mix there. Maybe this causes a rift between Owens and Zayn, perhaps. I don't know. But Jey could find shit to do on Raw, and that could serve as your way to kill time until you get to WrestleMania, and then you put the two of them in the Rumble or something like that. I don't know. But maybe that's what they're going to do in the immediate future. Or Jey quitting is even more temporary than we think. Here, I've got this idea of Jey quitting. That's a way to stretch out this Jimmy and Jey match until WrestleMania, but maybe Jey just comes back in 2 weeks. I don't think he'll be back this week on SmackDown, but maybe the week after, and then they start building to whatever they're going to do at Payback, because something has to happen there. So if you got any ideas where you think this should go, let me know, but I think Raw would be the place for him. Rodrigo, thanks for the $2. Timothy Stratton to be Chelsea Green's partner. I vote no. I vote no on Stratton. She's got her own thing going on right now. She is the NXT Women's Champion, trying to fill that void that Mandy Rose left and doing it well. Girl throws a good moonsault and all that. She would fit the bill, kind of with that character, but I almost think that you could find somebody else to do that. I would let Tiffany continue to do her thing as a singles champion. Unless they want to get her some main roster rub, They bring her in. Unless you're not at, because you're saying Tiffany Stratton to be Chelsea Green's partner. I don't know if you're asking me my opinion on this or you're telling me this is being reported right now. I don't think it's being reported, but Chelsea shouldn't look to Tiffany in my mind. Stone Cold, there's one from you earlier there a minute ago. Thanks for the 5. So Jimmy did it for Jey. He did it for the people. Total Rikishi Rock vibes. That's true. That's true, but it's just stupid. I mean, it's just as dumb, actually, as Rikishi's reasoning for doing what he did to The Rock, or for The Rock. I did it for The Rock. You tried to murder his competition? You thought he'd appreciate that? That's no. So I think with Jimmy, I'm surprised Jey wasn't more furious about this when Jimmy told him that I did this so you wouldn't become an asshole. Like, I'm sorry, what? You did this? Why? Fucking asshole. I'd be going ape shit on the guy. But anyway, I digest. Oh, man. Yeah, just an idea for Chelsea Green. That's a good one. I mean, there's lots that she would fit that character-wise, but I just think Tiffany should be left alone. Let her do her thing. She's developing right now, and let her develop. Know what I'm saying? Also, big news last night on SmackDown. We have a new United States champion, and it's weird how all this played out. Rey Mysterio is your new United States champion. He lost the number 1 contenders match to Santos Escobar a couple of weeks ago when he was injured mid-match. And that was that's caused a lot of confusion. At first, it was reported that it was an angle. Then it was reported that it was legit. Nobody really knew. And Santos ends up winning that. He gets the title shot against Austin Theory last night on SmackDown. But then backstage, Austin Theory attacks Santos. And then when he's coming hobbling out during his entrance, he gets attacked by Theory again and laid out in the entranceway. The officials and Adam Pearce are out there trying to help him out. Ray comes out and says, why don't I take the match or whatever? And Santos is like, yeah, go. Fucking Bret Hart at WrestleMania 9. Go get him. Go get him. And Adam Pearce or whatever is like, okay, go in there. You're the opponent now. Ray and Austin Theory have their match, and Ray wins the United States Championship. And that makes me so happy because I'm just not a fan of Austin Theory. I tried to be. I thought he was an obnoxious dumbass when he was doing the Vince stuff and the selfie and all that. Then Triple H got a hold of him, reset him, loved his vibe, loved his aggression, thought he had found his calling. They put him in a match with John Cena at WrestleMania that was forgettable. I forgot about it the minute it happened. And he's had one of the most underwhelming United States runs in recent memory, even though he's had a long run. And he's had big wins over John Cena. He ain't Gunther, put it that way. And I'm just so thrilled that he's lost that championship. I don't know what you do with Theory now. I don't care. But maybe a babyface run for him is something they could maybe think about. Because Theory did business. He did not seem like he was upset about putting Ray over or losing this title to him. Why would you be? It would be my honor to drop a championship to Rey Mysterio. I'd think about that every fucking day, how lucky I was to get pinned by a legend for a championship. I would jump at the chance to have that. So we have a new U.S. champion now, but it begs the question, was Ray originally supposed to win that number 1 contenders match? I feel like he was supposed to because they did the stoppage there. Santos got the victory and then he got taken out here and Ray replaced him. So they basically put themselves back to where they needed to be originally, which is kind of interesting. And I think this is going to lead to Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio for the title with with Ray putting Escobar over. I think that's been the plan ever since Ray got there and started associating himself with Santos and the LWO. So this could be a heel turn as well. Santos going heel definitely feels like something that could happen out of this. Legado del Fantasma were heels in NXT, right? And the LWO were heels in WCW, but the LWO was also pretty popular as babyfaces right now. So maybe this is something that needs to take some time. Maybe they don't do this right away. Maybe they have a competitive babyface match first, and then bad feelings develop, and then you do a heel turn after. I don't know, but it feels like whatever the end game here is going to be, it's probably going to be Ray passing that belt to Santos Escobar, if I had to guess. So congratulations to Ray, once again a champion in WWE. LA Knight defeated Uncle Phil one-on-one, cut a little promo for the audience. That was nice. AJ Styles defeated Karrion Kross. Little miscommunication on a top rope move, a lot of stumbling going around. But in the end, AJ Styles hit the Styles Clash for the win. And Kross did have that video of him teasing the fact that he might actually be starting a faction or a brotherhood of some kind. But it sounds like, or it feels like his feud with AJ it's got to be over now. What's the point at this point to have another match or something like that? But he did say that he learned a lot from AJ, and that is that it helps to have backup. And AJ has got his OC club there with Michin and those guys. So maybe Cross is looking to do the same thing. Or maybe Cross is looking to replace AJ as part of those guys. And I don't know, probably not. But looks like maybe Cross and Scarlett are going to grow and start getting bigger. Also, we had the return of Edge last night. So Edge, this was cool. Edge has got cutting a promo, and I think he calls out Sheamus. And he talks about, I think maybe before Sheamus comes out there, Edge talks about when he decided to return. And we've all heard the story of Sheamus's YouTube channel. And we remember when he went and visited Edge, and Edge just told the story about how he fell off the bike, and that's kind of what gave him the idea. And so he told that story again. He goes, Sheamus has the YouTube channel, Celtic Workouts or whatever it is, and he came down to Asheville to do some of my workouts. So I decided I'd take him on the mountain bike because Asheville is really known for mountain biking. They've got some tremendous trails up there, and a lot of good stuff in Asheville if you're a fan of that type of stuff. So he was like, I'm going to get Sheamus on the bike so he'll fall and bust his ass, and I'll get it on video and we can laugh at him. But he wasn't the one who fell. I was. And when I fell and took that bump and it was on video, he said, the fans are going to see this and wonder why I can't wrestle. And that was when the light bulb went off that maybe actually he could get in the ring. The fact that he was able to take a spill like that and get up without really hurting himself at all made him think that actually a comeback was possible. And it was. And had it not been for Sheamus making that trip and Edge taking that fall off that bike, we might have never seen him return to the ring. I don't know if he would have gotten bit by that bug had that not happened, and credited Sheamus with a lot. Now, Sheamus comes out and tells his side of the history from way back in 2004 when WWE came to his hometown and he was thinking about getting in the business, and he tried to, and everybody was there. The whole roster came to a bar he was working at, and he approached everybody, and they all gave him the cold shoulder except for one guy, Edge, who gave him advice and talked to him and gave him his time, and he said how much he appreciated that. And then Edge said, why don't we? Because I got a little surprise for you. Next week on SmackDown, it's going to be me and you one-on-one in Toronto, my hometown, for the first time ever, Edge versus Sheamus. You've got a history. I've been in the company 25 years. We've never faced, and we can go out there, beat the hell out of each other, and then go out for some scotch later. And Sheamus is like, change that scotch into a pint of Guinness, and you got yourself a deal. They shake hands, and the match is set. Sheamus versus Edge next week in Toronto on SmackDown. This is the show that 1 year ago, Edge cut a promo to the audience and said, in a perfect world, I retire 1 year in this building because WWE always comes to Toronto in the summer, in August. So it doesn't seem like that's on his radar anymore. It doesn't feel like what we're going to see next week is a Edge retirement match. I don't think they're going to surprise us with that. I think if you're going to have an Edge retirement match, you promote it as his last match or something, or you make it a career match or something. But Edge and Sheamus next week, that should be fun. I'm happy for the two of them that they get to have this match together because they are friends. Edge showed the picture of the two of them on the bike, Edge on his regular bike and Sheamus on Edge's daughter's bike, which was pretty funny. So I'm glad for these guys that they were able to develop a friendship because Edge had to retire before Sheamus even debuted. Or maybe Sheamus had just debuted when Edge had to retire in 2011, I think, right? So they just missed each other there at the beginning, but I guess they developed a relationship over the years. Edge would be in and out doing stuff, guest appearances, promotional shit, whatever. They got to know each other, became friends. Now they get to face on SmackDown in Toronto next Friday on SmackDown. That's kind of cool. Wrestling fan like me likes to see that type of stuff. Before we get into Dynamite, let me knock out the super chat from Spectra. Thank you so much, dude. Was watching Little League World Series and wanted to ask, have you ever watched Abbott and Costello's Who's on First? Truly a classic comedy? Of course. Of course. I remember being shown that in my drama class in high school. I took 4 years of drama. If you can believe that. And the Little League World Series are fun. When I was in high school, me and my friends, we would go to the Little League parks by ourselves and play home run derby in the Little League and just crash them. And we would just lob them up. And it was so much fun because a lot of my friends played baseball. We just go out there with buckets of baseballs and just start throwing. We'd just be hitting home runs over the Little League park. It was so, you felt strong when you can hit home runs like that so easily in that little tiny ass park that those little shits play in. That was my biggest memory of Little League is getting older and going and playing home run derby. The Juliet, appreciate that $2 earlier. WWE moved Jey to its alumni section. I saw that today. So they are playing along with this whole thing. and they are accepting that he's quitting. Normally if somebody quits, you're not moved over there right away. I don't even think Sasha and Naomi were moved over there the same day, were they? So WWE should try not to be too obvious about it. Like, they should try to put out a fake social media post about WWE officials are attempting to talk to Jey Uso, potentially talk about coming back. They just seem to have accepted him quitting with no discussions after. Oh, Jey says he quits. Boom, you're on the alumni section. You don't want to talk to him? You don't want to shoot him a text, give him a call, give him a couple days to cool off, call him, see if he wants to come back? Nope, it's already to the alumni section. To me, that's a dead giveaway that it's an angle. Nobody's going to believe that. Oh my God, what a mess. Anywho, let's talk about this past week's Dynamite on Wednesday. Dynamite was pretty good this week. Now, a couple of the big moments coming out of this, the biggest one, I guess, would be MJF and Adam Cole announcing that they are going to be working double duty. The two of them come out together, the BFFs, for a promo. And MJF at first thinks that Cole wants a promo battle leading into their All-In main event. And he says, "You're so white, if it was the 80s, Hogan would have snorted you. And then you're so short," and he goes into these jokes. And Cole's like, no, I don't want to have a promo battle with you. I want to propose that you and I go after the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. He goes, "I like you as a partner. The people like us as a team. And I think that there is some tag team gold out there that's very important to me, the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. And I propose that you and I team up on the 0 hour on the pre-show." So they're going to open and close this thing basically to take on Aussie Open for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. And MJF says, "You want me to work twice on the same show? What are you, some kind of sick pervert?" Which fucking popped me. And Cole's like, no, I'm not a pervert. I just want us to, achieve things together. And we can make history at the show, winning tag team championships in the opener, being partners, and then being opponents in the main event. Now, Roddy, of course, Roderick Strong comes out. He's just been great in all of this because Roderick Strong has not just been sitting there like with a, sourpuss look on his face or anything like that. He is really, really overplaying this. He's got the neck brace on, which is so perfect, and he's just so mad. He throws shit, and he's just got an angry face, and he's so fucking butthurt about this whole thing about Adam Cole being friends with MJF. So he comes out, and he's like, "Rah, Adam Cole," and he's just, "I cannot believe you give this piece of shit the time of day," and just does not like what's going on at all. MJF gets on the mic, insults Roderick Strong, and Roddy says, "The Kingdom said Cole was never my friend." And then Taven and Bennett come out and they hug Roddy and console him. And MJF insults him and they walk away. And then Cole pushes MJF and he gets pissed and then apologizes. "I'm sorry for pushing you, but he's my friend. You're my friend. You can't do that. You can't talk to him that way." And then MJF is like, "Go take care of your boy. Go take care of your boy." And Adam Cole leaves to supposedly go back and talk to Roderick Strong. So in the end, they hug it out. Everything was fine between the two of them. They even had the big trampoline park party, which was kind of like when Will Ferrell and Step Brothers, when they went to the school and beat the shit out of all the kids, and they're just smacking kids in the face with balls and all of that. So they went back to the trampoline park and had fun there. And all is well with their friendship, but there is this item of Roderick Strong, hanging over their heads. Cole's still trying to be a friend to him, and MJF hates him, and Roddy hates him, and all this stuff. So it feels like the obvious thing that's going to happen here, because we've been talking about, it feels like they're really planting the seeds for a big swerve. Everybody's expecting MJF to be the one to turn because he's done this to everybody else. And for once, MJF has found himself vulnerable, and Adam Cole has been able to, get him to let his guard down a little bit. And a lot of fans feel that it's going to wind up being Adam Cole to turn on MJF, not the other way around. And I think Adam Cole might be the head of this new kingdom. It might be Adam Cole, Roderick, Taven, and Bennett is going to be like the new faction here. Adam Cole's crew is Undisputed Era, if you will. And turning on MJF essentially would make him a baby face, and then maybe they can get Bobby Fish, and when O'Reilly's healthy too, and then maybe he can get those guys back to battle. I don't know, but it feels like they might be making it a little bit obvious that Cole is going to turn now, that he might actually wind up being with Roderick, this whole thing is a ruse to fool MJF. That's why Roderick Strong is being so over the top and so animated with this, is because they're trying to really convince MJF. They're trying to fool him. And it'll be funny if they like swerved us, like if Cole and Roderick have put this plan in motion to manipulate MJF, but then MJF is so smart that he even sees it coming. So then Adam Cole, maybe at the pay-per-view in the main event, does something to reveal that he's turning heel. And then MJF does something to reveal that, hey, I knew you were going to do that, and I've got something to counter that. And then it's like, oh, who knows? But I think there's potential here for this to be fun when it unravels and to see where it goes. And it really has, I think, in a lot of ways helped MJF. He's been very entertaining throughout all of this, and seeing other sides of him, that he's just still the same prick that he is, but there is a human inside of there that does in fact seem to have feelings, and you're wondering which one of these two guys is manipulating the other. Is this all really still an act by MJF, or is he the one getting played here? I like it. I like it because you truly don't know. And it's really, the chemistry has been good, because when this whole thing started, they might have not had the chemistry that they had. And I think that has all really helped it. There has been, even though it's absurd and it's pro wrestling and it shouldn't touch these type of emotions, there were some touching moments between these two, even though none of it's fucking genuine. The birthday party, when Cole like knelt down, when MJF had the cake all over his face and he knelt down next to him. He's like, MJF, I just want to say thank you, my friend. That like got to me, and I'm like, holy shit, these two guys striking these emotions, damn near choking me up watching this, knowing that I know these two guys are just manipulating the fuck out of each other. And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they both have some sort of master plan. Cole has his in play right now with Roderick and Taven and Bennett. And then maybe MJF has got something up his sleeve too. And then these two plans come face to face at the pay-per-view. And then you have to see which plan is the stronger plan. I don't know, but it's fun. It's fun watching it. Nothing these two guys do is not entertaining. It's basically, I think, Dynamite's kind of version of the Bloodline for me. I'm not comparing it to the Bloodline numbers or anything like that. I'm just saying the way it interests me. I'm usually pretty focused when MJF and Cole are in the ring, just like I am when Roman Reigns and Uso or anybody else is in the ring over on SmackDown. So that's all fun. We'll see what winds up happening. Are they going to win the Ring of Honor tags in the 0 hour, or are they going to do like an injury angle there? I feel like something could happen. Maybe they win the championships, but one of them comes up injured, but is still going to defend the title anyway. And then, if MJF hurts himself and then Cole has to, or maybe Cole hurts himself. Cole injures his leg, and then MJF has to wrestle with, should I take advantage of that injury or not? Tito, will you stop messing with my computer? Hey, get out of here, please. Being very rambunctious today. But, damn, lost my train of thought. But with MJF and, Adam Cole, it was the injury angle. MJF having to, wrestle with the decision of, should I attack his leg? Should I make it worse? I could injure him more. I could shorten his career, and having that remorse combined with the desire to keep your title. Then Cole takes advantage of that or reveals that he's not injured at all and he was just faking the whole thing. Who fucking knows? But I feel like something in the 0 hour match will happen that will affect the finish in the main event. That's what I'm trying to say. So if they win the tags, that means that could spoil a little bit of the future. Like if they win the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, that means that AEW probably plans on having the relationship remain intact beyond All In. And don't forget, we got All Out like the week after that, which who knows how they're going to book that. It's going to be really tough. I don't know what they were thinking, booking these shows a week apart. I guess All Out was already on the calendar, and then they had the Wembley deal come into play. But you're probably not going to be able to book All Out until a lot of the match outcomes happen at All In, which doesn't give you much time to build those issues. So I don't know. It's going to present some problems for them. And this is probably something they're not going to want to do again. WWE did this a couple of years ago with SummerSlam and Payback. It was like a week apart or something, or very close together, too close. And this is probably going to be a mistake they're going to learn from and say, okay, let's not do that again. But in terms of what happens with these two, we'll see if they do another match at All Out. Probably not, since they're doing double duty here. But we'll see what comes into play there. I just feel like if we're going to get some swerve or turn with Cole or MJF turning on the other, it's going to be hard to do that if the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Like, why would you take the belts off Aussie Open to give it to MJF and Cole just to have them break up at the end of the night? So I feel like they have to lose. I feel like they need to lose that Tag Team Championship match, adding even more potential problems between the two in the main event. We'll have to see. But luckily, we're a couple of weeks away from doing our predictions video there and where that might all lead to. Another interesting thing that took place on Dynamite this week was Jungle Boy taking on Rob Van Dam. So Rob Van Dam does get the match on Wednesday, and he looked good. He's 52 years old or something like that, but he had a pretty decent match for somebody his age. Rob Van Dam was always very gifted and talented athletically in the ring. He's maintained in good shape throughout his later years. Jungle Boy was rocking some Jerry Lynn gear, which looked really awesome, I got to say. And RVD was hitting his shit. He definitely looked winded, and he looked like somebody who's 52 doing this stuff. But you have to remember Rob Van Dam's style. He didn't wrestle like Andre. You know, this is a guy doing split-legged moonsaults and rolling thunders and all that stuff. And he did the scissor kick or whatever off the apron to the barricade and hit a 5-star frog splash. Unfortunately, the referee was down for that one. And by the time Aubrey Edwards ran down there, he was not able to secure the 3 count. In the finish, this was an FTW rules match, by the way, for the title. And the finish had a chair stuck between the top and second turnbuckle. RVD charged Jungle Boy, who moves, or maybe Jungle Boy threw him through the chair. RVD goes through it, falls back. Jungle Boy's able to roll him up with Aubrey counting the 3, and he retains and beats legend RVD in a really good match. Jungle Boy did well here, looked good in the Jerry Lynn gear, and who knows, you know, maybe I'll come around on him being a heel. He's still got some work to do, but this was a step in the right direction. It was very good. We also had the Jericho Appreciation Society breaking up, so Jericho was out there with all his cohorts, and one by one, they all basically gave their notice. The most obnoxious one was Ty Mello, who some women, when they cut promos, it's just funny how they start blinking really fast and they just start doing all these weird mannerisms. And whatever she said, it just kind of was like funny. It was just very awkward. She goes, "I'm making a decision for you." I'm like, don't go crazy here. So she said what she had to say. Menard and Parker all had things to say. Thank Jericho, but hey, you've been, you know, many of us have not benefited. It's benefited more you than us. Anna Jay said her piece, and everybody kind of walks out one by one. The last one is Sammy Guevara, who says, "Look, I'm not walking out on you, but I'm going to give you your space to work through whatever you need to work through. And when you're done, maybe I'll be here." And he leaves. So he doesn't want to really abandon Jericho completely. He's letting him know, figure out you, and then I'll be here when you need me, kind of thing. Jericho is then backstage. He's approached by Don Callis. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry if I had anything to do with that." And then Jericho's like, "It's all right. I've made my decision. I'll give that decision whether or not I'm joining the Callis family next week." And it feels like, based on the body language and everything, that answer is going to be no. And we've been hearing about the rumors of Jericho and Will Ospreay at All In. That's probably what's going to lead to that match. I'm not terribly excited about Jericho and Ospreay, to be honest with you. I think Will Ospreay is way too good. And he can probably have a good match with Jericho because he'll be able to pull one out of him. But I'd much rather see 2003 Jericho against Will Ospreay than Jericho of today. And based on what we saw from Omega and Ospreay at the Forbidden Door, I was really hoping to get that rematch here in Wembley. I think I would much prefer that. I'd much prefer Ospreay and Omega than Ospreay and Jericho. But I think next week we'll probably get the announcement for that, or the groundwork laid for it, when he says no to Don Callis. Don Callis gets pissed. Maybe Ospreay comes in to attack or something like that, and that sets up the match at Wembley. But, you know, it's a match. I'm just not giving Jericho that big of a high-profile match on the show. I'm just not. I'm sure AEW is very appreciative of all he's done to help them start up, and he's a big name that they brought on there. But this is just a match I don't think we need, but we're probably going to get Jericho and Ospreay, whatever. The Bucks took on the Hardys here. Young Bucks and Hardys meeting yet again. I was at Double or Nothing last year in Vegas, saw these two teams wrestle on pay-per-view in a match that I thought would be the last match they ever had. But it turned out not to be. This match, I think a lot of people might think, was better than the Double or Nothing match. It was a BTE trigger to Matt Hardy for the win. Handshake, show of respect after the match. And the Bucks are back in the tag division and looking for gold, as they will be taking on FTR at All In. And we also had a couple of women's matches. Now we got this women's fatal 4-way tournament going on, or women's 4-way tournament. 3 matches. One person has a bye, and the winners of the match qualify for the 4-way at All In for the championship. Now, the matches Toni Storm, I should say, gets a bye in this. Hikaru Shida did not get a bye, and she's the champion, which is weird. But I guess Toni Storm got the bye because she optioned her rematch clause. So she's going to kind of automatically get a spot in this match, which I would hold off my rematch until it's a one-on-one situation, but she chose to take it here. Shida had to defeat Anna Jay on Dynamite to qualify. We also had Saraya defeating Sky Blue last night, right, to qualify. So she's in. So we've got Shida, Toni Storm, and Saraya. And then this Wednesday on Dynamite, it's Britt Baker against Bad Bunny. So I think it's pretty safe to say it's going to be Britt Baker. She'll win on Wednesday. So the fatal 4-way, or the 4-way, I don't know why I keep calling it fatal. The 4-way for the women's championship at All In is going to be Hikaru Shida defending against Toni Storm, Saraya, and most likely Britt Baker. Now, I would love to see them put the title right back on Toni Storm, but I kind of forgot about the Saraya thing. I kind of forgot about that's her, that's where she's from. She hasn't wrestled over there in a long time. She's had this great comeback. She's talked about it for a long time that it's her dream to wrestle over there. She's now in the biggest show she's ever going to see, and it's for a championship. And Tony Khan, I think, wants to give her this moment. And that might be why Shida won the championship from Toni Storm, is so Saraya didn't have to beat one of her stablemates, but she's going to have to beat one of her stablemates anyway because they're both in this match. But maybe they want the moment to be about Saraya. I don't know. But it feels like since she qualified for this match and that she's in it, and this seems to be a very big deal for her. She's not been shy about wanting a big moment here. And I think Tony Khan, maybe one of his faults is that he's got too much of a heart sometimes. And he wants to give talent moments. Not that Saraya doesn't deserve this. I'm very happy for her. Very happy for her. This is going to definitely act as maybe even a sense of closure in some ways, that she was able to check a big one off the list that she didn't get to do before her injury and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard not to feel like Saraya is going to be the one to come out of this match with the championship. I feel like it's going to be her. So I think this whole thing was set up for Saraya to win in Wembley Stadium. And maybe they thought Shida going in as the champion would make more sense. So it didn't cause any, like if they want to keep the Outcasts going, although Toni Storm seems like she's kind of starting this crazy character. So maybe the Outcasts are done. But I kind of felt like maybe they put the belt on Shida. So if Saraya wins, it doesn't cause too much problems in Outcast because Toni Storm wouldn't have lost her title. She already lost it. So this would be more about Saraya winning it than it would be about Toni losing it. And I thought maybe that's why they gave Shida the championship. So we'll see. But it feels like the way they're setting this thing up, Toni, Shida, and of course Britt, all former decorated women's champions. Shida's a 2-time. Toni's a 2-time, right? So it's got to be Saraya, right? Probably is. This week on Dynamite, big card set up for Fight for the Fallen. Like I said, Fight for the Fallen was moved up to this week. That way Tony Khan could donate money to the Maui Food Bank to benefit those victims of the wildfires in Maui. So they're moving up Fight for the Fallen this week. We've got Britt Baker versus Bad Bunny. Britt Baker versus Bunny. Winner qualifies for that 4-way. We know that's going to be Baker. We've got Darby Allin and Nick Wayne taking on the Gates of Agony. We have Orange Cassidy defending his international title against Wheeler Yuta. And we have that Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match that we talked about earlier. We've got a Kenny Omega interview. I think it's a sit down with Jim Ross, and MJF and Adam Cole will have a segment as well. Now, last night on Rampage, we had Darby Allin defeat Brian Cage. After that, Luchasaurus attacked Darby Allin, so it looks like they're setting up Darby to potentially regain that TNT championship if they've got a match with Luchasaurus coming up. Saraya, like I said, defeated Sky Blue last night to qualify for the 4-way, and Orange Cassidy defeated John Morrison after the matches when Wheeler Yuta challenged him for Dynamite this week. So that's what we saw last night. Collision goes live in 15 minutes. We're about to wrap up the podcast here tonight from Greensboro. The Acclaimed are going to be in action. House of Black taking on CMFTR. That's going to be fun. Punk in there with Malachi Black. That's kind of awesome. We've got Statlander and Willow teaming up to take on Diamante and Mercedes Martinez. Ricky Starks has a promo, and so does Powerhouse Hobbs. So Collision looks fun tonight from Greensboro. Here's how the All-In card looks right now. MJF and Adam Cole versus Aussie Open on the 0 hour. FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. The women's title on the line in the Fatal 4-Way, or the 4-Way, whatever they call it. Darby Allin and Sting will be teaming up to take on Swerve Strickland and AR Fox in a coffin match. Now, this was also set up on Dynamite on Wednesday. This is kind of cool because there was a coffin match oh no, there wasn't. Fuck. I thought I was about to be slick. I was thinking the Undertaker and Kamala coffin match was at Wembley. It wasn't. That was a normal match. The coffin match came at Survivor Series. That's what it was. So, tag team coffin match at Wembley. Sting is going to get to be in front of that crowd. Maybe this is going to be Sting's final match. Maybe. You don't know. Kenny Omega is going to have a match in there somewhere. Opponent to be announced or determined. Hopefully we'll get some sort of an idea on that by Wednesday next week when he's got to sit down with Jim Ross. CM Punk and Samoa Joe is not official yet, but it feels like that's what they're going to do. Jericho and Ospreay is not official yet, but it feels like that's what they're going to do. And MJF and Adam Cole in the main event for the AEW Championship. Now, a lot of what happens here at All In will have to be booked for All Out rematches or winners or whatever. It's going to be really hard to book two separate cards at the same time. You know, have a card already announced for All Out before you've had All In. How's that going to work? You got to have All In first. So we'll see how Tony Khan and AEW manages this creative dilemma, because they have one. So we'll see how they manage it and how bad or good it turns out to be. So we will find out. Let me cruise here to the chat, see if there's any other supers I need to answer. If you guys could smash that thumbs up button for me on your way out the door, I would appreciate it. And we have got a big watch-along planned for tomorrow night, ECW, Living Dangerously, 1999. The link is already up on my channel. And then, like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, no Raw review podcast on Raw, after Raw on Monday. We're going to be doing a mini podcast on Tuesday afternoon to talk about tonight's Collision and Monday's Raw. So stay tuned for that on Tuesday. I think I got them all. That's good here. Let me see. I think I knocked out all the supers. I really don't want to miss anybody. Hopefully I did not, but I want to thank everybody again for being here this afternoon. It was fun to come back up here on a Saturday, and always a blast with you guys. Thank you so much. So you enjoy Collision. If you follow me on Twitter, I would love it if you guys would tweet me some updates, because I'll be looking for things to do while I'm at work. So if you can give me some reading material, I would appreciate that. Make sure you're here tomorrow night for the ECW Living Dangerously watch along. Like the video, subscribe if you have not yet already. And if you want to become a member, you can do that too. You guys have a great, great, great rest of your Saturday, and I'll catch you tomorrow.